This guy's name is Kieru. He had just woken up from a nightmare. Suddenly, Anna walked into the room. She was worried about Kieru, because he had dreamed about that same nightmare again. It turned out that Kieru wanted to become a hero to fight the demon lord. Anna immediately encouraged him, because this had been Kieru's dream since childhood. She also said that his coming-of-age ceremony was approaching. He would be able to choose to become either a swordsman or a mage. He could even be chosen as a hero. Kieru said that if he became a hero, he would repay Anna for raising him like her own younger brother. While Kieru was picking apples in the garden, suddenly, a voice spoke inside his head. It told Kieru that he must obtain the spirit's eyes. The voice unconsciously took control of Kieru. He didn't know where he was going. Soon after, Kieru arrived at a lake deep in the forest. A spirit appeared before him. Suddenly, she kissed Kieru's eyes. This allowed his eyes to see through everything in the world. At that moment, Kieru regained memories from his previous life. Back then, Kieru and the other heroes were fighting the demon lord. However, the demon lord was extremely powerful. Even when they fought together, they were still unable to defeat the demon lord. Kieru saw that everyone was badly injured. This strangely delighted him. It turned out that Kieru had once been brainwashed by the princess, so that he would become someone who only obeyed orders. But in reality, Kieru was only pretending, because Kieru's ability was healing. However, the weakness of this ability was that he could always feel the pain of others. This made him no longer want to use his power. Even so, Kieru was constantly captured by Princess Flare. He was even treated cruelly by the other heroes. So, Kieru became determined to take revenge on them. It turned out that 1 year earlier, Kieru had unlocked the skill drug resistance. Because of this, he escaped Flare's brainwashing drugs. At that moment, Kieru decided to defeat the demon lord using his own strength. This shocked the other heroes, because he only possessed healing magic. It turned out that his healing magic had another hidden ability. That ability allowed Kieru to turn other people's techniques into his own. This surprised the demon lord, because Kieru was incredibly powerful. He easily blocked her attacks. He could even heal himself. When Kieru finally got close to the demon lord, he defeated her, and Kieru obtained the Philosopher's Stone. This was something the other heroes could not achieve. Flare promised to reward Kieru. She told him to hand over the Philosopher's Stone to her. However, Kieru did not easily give it to her, because whoever possessed the stone would gain godlike power. It turned out that Kieru wanted to heal the world itself, and return to a time before he ever met Flare. But, Flare warned him that he would lose all of his memories. However, Kieru did not care. Kieru said that when he met Flare again, he would reclaim everything that belonged to him. And so, Kieru activated the Philosopher's Stone. At that moment, Kieru remembered everything. This greatly pleased him, because he was about to begin his path of revenge. When Kieru's birthday arrived, he became the healing hero. After that, Kieru entered the forest to search for poison, so that he could increase his poison resistance. Sometime later, Flare arrived at Kieru's village. She discovered that the village had produced a new hero. So, she came to take Kieru with her. This made Anna extremely happy. After that, Kieru began traveling together with Flare. At this time, Kieru could see the stats of other people. He realized that the princess's bodyguard was extremely powerful. Flare started a conversation with Kieru. She promised to teach him many things so he could become a hero. Very soon, they arrived at the royal palace, a place filled with terrible memories for Kieru, because this kingdom always enslaved demi-humans. After that, Kieru went to meet the king. He saw that the king's stats were overwhelmingly strong. So, he knew he had to act carefully. At that moment, the king granted Kieru the title of healing hero. This was also the type of power the kingdom was lacking. Therefore, the king asked him to heal the sword saint, because she had lost one arm in battle. So, Kieru agreed to heal the sword saint. That night, Kieru lay in wait, because he knew the maids would come to seduce him. But, Kieru did not resist, because he needed to steal experience from them. A few days later, Flare led Kieru to heal the sword saint, Kureha. This made her extremely happy. When Kieru began the treatment, he immediately felt her pain and her combat experience. Unexpectedly, Kureha's arm instantly regenerated. However, Kieru also collapsed unconscious. This made Kureha very worried. However, Flare said she would take care of him. So, Kureha promised to repay Kieru and left. Meanwhile, Flare believed that Kieru was nothing but useless. But in truth, he was only pretending, because Kieru wanted to confirm whether the princess was the same as in his previous life. So, he would not hesitate to take revenge on her anymore. When Kieru woke up, he pretended that he no longer wanted to use his healing powers, because he did not want to continue experiencing that pain. But Flare comforted him. She said that by saving the Sword Saint, he had effectively saved countless people. However, Kieru still refused to use his power. Flare said she would no longer force him and left. When Flare returned to her room, she immediately washed her hands as if she had touched a pile of filth. Suddenly, a maid brought tea to Kieru. He realized that the tea had been laced with brainwashing drugs. But he still drank it, causing Kieru to lose consciousness. At that time, he was imprisoned in the dungeon. Every day, Kieru was tortured. From that day on, the heroes who wanted to grow stronger kept coming to him. He was even forced to heal them repeatedly. Taking advantage of this, Kieru also learned combat experience from the other heroes. It turned out that everything was going according to Kieru's plan. Thanks to the princess throwing the brainwashing drug into his face, he regained his self-awareness. At that moment, Kieru realized that he had grown stronger. So, he could finally begin his plan. Because the king had sent troops to invade another country, Kieru escaped from prison and officially took action. At that time, Flare was extremely anxious, because she learned that Kieru had escaped. Suddenly, Kieru was captured by Renard. This greatly pleased Flare. So, she told Renard to bring Kieru to her room. As soon as they entered the room, Renard immediately defeated the two guards, and instantly restrained the princess. It turned out that Renard was actually Kieru in disguise. In the past, he had been treated no differently than a pet. So, he wanted to return everything to her. After that, Kieru invited the princess to play a game. He would break all 10 of her fingers. If Flare could remain silent, she would win. However, when Kieru broke the 9th finger, he immediately healed her injuries. Therefore, the game would start over from the beginning. This greatly delighted Kieru. After everything was over, he even altered Flare's memories and appearance. And he took Flare out of the castle, because Kieru had staged the scene to make it look like Flare had died. After that, Kieru also changed his own appearance, so that no one could recognize him. At this point, Kieru wanted to meet the Demon Lord once again, because he wanted to know what she was trying to protect, and he wanted to continue growing stronger. Suddenly, Flare woke up, but she had lost all of her memories. Kieru lied and told her that she was his girlfriend, and that her current name was Freya. So, she believed Kieru's words. She even followed everything he told her to do. Even though Freya had lost all her memories, she could still feel that Kieru was someone extremely important to her. At this point, Kieru and Freya began a new journey. He decided to leave this kingdom behind. Suddenly, everyone gathered to look at Renard's wanted poster, because Kieru had framed him for attempting to assassinate the princess. This greatly amused Kieru. However, Kieru then heard some news. Flare's younger sister, Norn, was about to return. She was the only one who knew that Kieru had memories from a previous life. Therefore, he did not want to get involved with Norn. Kieru recalled the past. In his previous life, when he was still part of Flare's hero party, he had been brainwashed by Flare. As a result, they only treated Kieru like a pet. At night, Flare would play with Kieru. Meanwhile, the sword hero was jealous of him, because Kieru was allowed to stay close to the princess. So, she repeatedly beat Kieru. She even kissed him, because Kieru had been kissed by the princess, even though she hated men. However, everything did not end there. He continued to be abused by the gun hero. Just thinking about him was enough to suddenly wake Kieru up. When he went out to the riverbank, he realized what he needed to do. That was to take revenge on the sword hero and the gun hero. A few days later, they arrived in Lanarita. This was a city filled with criminals, and there were many sick people there as well. That night, Kieru and Flare were having dinner at a restaurant. Suddenly, he realized that the drinking water was poisoned. So, Kieru suspected that the city's water supply had been contaminated. This was likely the reason why the citizens were getting sick. After that, Kieru began researching an antidote, and he used his own blood. In the end, he successfully created a cure. The next morning, he went to see a merchant. He asked the merchant to help him sell the medicine. However, the merchant did not easily trust Kieru. So, he gave the medicine to his assistant to test it first. Unexpectedly, the assistant was completely cured. As a result, the merchant trusted Kieru. After that, they began working together. However, Kieru refused to sell the formula. If the merchant ever tried to cheat him, Kieru would immediately end their cooperation. At this point, Flare did not understand why Kieru did not sell the medicine himself to earn more money. He explained that a merchant could sell faster and had more credibility. It would also attract the attention of many other merchants. Suddenly, Kieru went to the slave market. Flare did not understand why he came here, because she felt that the slaves were pitiful. They had lost their freedom and were forced to obey orders. This surprised Kieru, because a princess like Flare could say such things. After that, Kieru went inside to choose a slave. It turned out that he only wanted a slave to serve as a shield for him. So, he chose a slave who knew how to fight. Kieru used his eyes to search carefully, but he could not find anyone suitable. Suddenly, Kieru noticed a sick demi-human. He immediately checked her status. Unexpectedly, she was extremely ferocious. However, she was restrained by a slave collar. Kieru felt sympathy for her. He believed she must have gone through terrible things, so much so that she came to hate the entire world. Therefore, Kieru promised to help her take revenge, if she agreed to travel with him. After that, Kieru decided to buy her. He did not know what would become of her after her revenge was complete. At this time, Kieru began treating Setsuna. This allowed him to see her memories. Setsuna was a member of the Icewolf tribe. However, her tribe had been attacked by humans, and they were forced into slavery. This caused her immense suffering. After learning about her past, Kieru felt deep sympathy for her. He realized that the Icewolf tribe had indeed been attacked, because he already knew about this from Renard's memories. Setsuna's wish was to take revenge on those who destroyed her village, and he thought that, if Flare were to slaughter those soldiers, it would be quite satisfying. So, Kieru kissed Setsuna to help her wake up sooner. The next day, Kieru continued selling the medicine. He was very satisfied with the money the merchant earned. But, Kieru was surprised, because Goldman did not cheat him at all. Flare believed that with this business, they could live comfortably for the rest of their lives. But, Kieru wanted to save the entire world. So, he needed to earn much more money. After that, they returned to their room. But, Setsuna had still not woken up. So, Kieru continued giving her medicine. In the end, Setsuna finally woke up, but she immediately slapped Kieru because she thought he was attacking her. However, Flare explained that he was only taking care of her. So, Setsuna immediately apologized to Kieru. Kieru told Flare to go buy food for Setsuna. She felt that Kieru was a very kind person. So, she vowed to repay him no matter the cost. However, Setsuna wanted to leave this place. So, she suddenly attacked Kieru. Unexpectedly, he blocked her attack. He told her that he was far stronger than Setsuna. So, he no longer needed to put a slave collar on her. At this moment, Setsuna realized her own weakness. She could not save her tribe by herself. However, Kieru said he could help Setsuna become stronger, because he possessed the Sword Saint's skills and was a hero. Therefore, Setsuna agreed to become Kieru's slave, on the condition that he would save her tribe. After that, Kieru used his powers to strengthen Setsuna. Soon, they arrived at the place where Setsuna's tribe was being held captive. Setsuna saw the soldiers abusing her friends. This filled her with rage. But, she had to follow Kieru's plan. At this moment, the Icewolf tribe was fighting back against the invaders. Kieru realized that it was time to act. He declared that he was the sword hero, and that he would stand against those attacking the village. Then, Kieru immediately attacked the soldiers. He even used the Sword Saint's techniques. Flare also began to act. She immediately used magic to attack the soldiers. This delighted Kieru, because she was slaughtering her own subordinates. In the end, Kieru gave Setsuna permission to fight. So, she immediately attacked them. The people of the tribe also launched a counterattack. This greatly pleased Kieru, because he would soon bring an end to this corrupt kingdom. After the Icewolf tribe won the battle, they celebrated together. At this moment, Kieru realized something. It was actually the Icewolf tribe that had left monster corpses behind, which had contaminated the water source. So, Kieru asked Setsuna whether she still wanted revenge, or if she would choose to purify the water instead. Setsuna decided to cleanse the water source, because she did not want anyone else to suffer again. After that, Kieru purified the water. Meanwhile, Renard was being scolded by the king, because he had allowed the princess to die. He had even been altered to resemble Kieru from his previous life. Therefore, the king ordered him to capture Kieru. It turned out that Norn had also returned. At this time, Kureha heard the news. Someone was using her sword techniques. This greatly shocked her. Meanwhile, Kieru was leisurely enjoying himself with Flare and Setsuna. After that, they returned to the city of Lanarita. Suddenly, a man tried to buy Setsuna, because he had taken a liking to her. But, Kieru immediately refused. This angered the man. However, he was quickly restrained by Setsuna. This greatly satisfied Kieru. He then read the man's thoughts. Kieru realized that he was a deserter soldier from the Icewolf attack. After dealing with him, Kieru went to meet Goldman. Suddenly, Goldman had his subordinates surround Kieru. It turned out that he wanted to take Kieru's medicine formula. He even used Flare and Setsuna to threaten him. However, Kieru showed no fear at all. He flatly refused. This shocked Goldman, because Kieru was not intimidated in the slightest, and he also had the strength to oppose him. Suddenly, Kieru agreed to sell the formula for 500 gold coins. This made Goldman extremely happy. After Kieru received the money, Flare blamed herself. She believed that because of her, Kieru had lost the medicine formula. However, Kieru said that he was actually the one who won, because even if Goldman had the formula, he would never be able to recreate the medicine. Since the water source had already been purified, the people of the city would soon recover anyway. Suddenly, Kieru was attacked by the Sword Saint. This shocked her, because Kieru was able to block her attack. Kureha immediately asked who he was, why he could use her family's sword techniques. She also believed that Kieru was the one who attacked the Icewolf village. Therefore, she was determined not to forgive him. However, Setsuna said that Kieru had protected her tribe. This only made Kureha even angrier, because she believed that Kieru had brainwashed the two girls. Therefore, she was determined to defeat him. Suddenly, Flare launched an attack, but she was instantly defeated by Kureha. This enraged Kieru, because she dared to damage his property. Even though Kieru could see that her stats were extremely high, he still decided to defeat Kureha. They moved at incredible speed, which shocked Kureha, because Kieru was able to block her attacks. But, Kureha was extremely powerful. He felt that she was like a monster. Unexpectedly, Kieru's body was incredibly tough. So tough that her sword shattered. However, she still sent Kieru flying into a wall. Even so, he managed to stand back up, and he healed himself. Kureha realized that he possessed many different skills. At that moment, she continued her assault. However, Kieru threw a potion at Kureha. She had no idea what kind of potion it was. Suddenly, Kureha's body began to feel unbearably hot. This delighted Kieru. As a result, she was forced to stab her own leg to calm herself down. They decided to bring the battle to an end. Unexpectedly, Kureha moved at incredible speed, and she cut off one of Kieru's arms. However, he looked delighted, because it turned out to be a trap. He immediately regenerated his arm. Kieru then showed her how the Icewolf tribe had been treated by the kingdom's soldiers. This shocked her so badly that she passed out. That night, they took care of Kureha. Flare felt that she was far too weak. Kieru told Flare that she was a mage, but she still needed more close combat training. So, Kieru asked Setsuna to train her. Suddenly, Kieru told Flare to act out a scene with him. At that moment, Kureha woke up. She discovered that she had been tied up. Kureha could not believe that the kingdom was truly this corrupt. But, Kieru said they never protected demi-humans. They even enslaved demi-humans. This left her stunned. Kieru told her to return to the capital and investigate the truth, because he did not want Kureha to be deceived by this kingdom. Suddenly, Kieru reverted to his former appearance. She recognized him as the healing hero. However, She believed that Kieru was a criminal, because he had allegedly murdered the princess. But Kieru said the princess was not dead. Suddenly, Flare appeared. This completely shocked Kureha. It turned out that Kieru had restored Flare's original appearance. Flare said that she and Kieru were searching for the kingdom's dark side, and that they were on a journey to save the world. This made Kureha feel devastated, because she had always protected this kingdom. But Flare told her it was not her fault, and urged Kureha to search for her own future. Meanwhile, Kieru was extremely satisfied, because Flare's acting was perfect. At this moment, Kureha apologized to Kieru for having doubted him, and she promised to support him. Suddenly, Kureha kissed Kieru to atone for her mistake. Flare and Setsuna were standing outside, waiting for their turn. Kieru realized that his plan had succeeded. From now on, Kureha would follow his orders. Meanwhile, Renard was burning with a desire for revenge against Kieru. The next morning, Flare and Setsuna were jealous of Kureha, because she was able to stay close to Kieru. Suddenly, a group of soldiers appeared in the city. They were searching for Kieru. They even captured villagers from his hometown to threaten him. Kieru realized they were trying to lure him out. So, he asked Kureha to investigate for him, and he gave her a kiss. She immediately agreed. Meanwhile, Renard was furious, because he still could not find Kieru. It turned out that earlier, he had destroyed his own face, because he hated looking like Kieru. He had also captured Anna. After Kureha finished her investigation, she told Kieru that because he was labeled a criminal, the villagers were also branded as heretics. This enraged Kieru. After that, he changed his appearance, so that he could infiltrate the soldiers. At this moment, Kieru spoke with one of the soldiers. The man thought Kieru was an ally. So, he revealed the truth. Anna had been captured by Renard. She was the woman who had raised Kieru. This filled Kieru with rage, and he became determined to rescue Anna. That night, Kieru finally met Renard. Renard believed he was about to obtain Kieru's location. But the man standing before him was actually Kieru himself. This left Renard completely shocked. However, he had already been paralyzed by poison. It turned out that Kieru had set traps throughout the entire room in advance. This made Renard furious. After that, Kieru began reading Renard's memories. He saw how Anna had been abused by him, in front of everyone in the village. This made Kieru extremely furious. After Renard woke up, he had already been turned into a woman by Kieru. However, he still felt no remorse for what he had done. Thus, Kieru drove his 4 subordinates insane, so that he could experience the suffering of others, and he would be tortured until the moment he died. After that, Kieru immediately went to rescue his sister. However, when he arrived, she had already taken her final breath. No matter how much he healed her, Anna could not be brought back to life. So, Flare and Setsuna comforted him. It turned out that everything had been part of the second princess's plan. Norn believed that Renard and his subordinates were completely useless. So, she decided to execute the entire village. She did not believe that Kieru would never reveal himself. The next morning, Kureha continued providing information to Kieru. She said that in 5 days, the execution would take place in the arena. That was the place where slaves were forced to fight monsters. Kureha realized this was a trap meant to lure Kieru out. But, he was still determined to go. Kieru said that he would save this world. So, Kureha decided to help him, and she revealed that Norn had already returned. This shocked Kieru. Flare also felt afraid. However, Kureha believed that Norn was a good person, and that she would save the kingdom. But only Kieru knew the truth. Norn was no different from a demon. This made Kieru recall his previous life. In that life, Kieru had pretended to be insane. But, Norn discovered the truth the very first time they met. However, she promised to keep his secret. In exchange, he had to obey all of her demands. Just like with Flare. But so far, Norn had not done anything to him. So, she was not a priority target for revenge yet. At this moment, Kieru infiltrated the arena. He saw that the villagers were about to be executed. If Kieru did not appear, they would be killed one by one. Suddenly, Kieru decided to reveal himself. This shocked everyone. All the citizens demanded that Kieru be executed, because they viewed him as a criminal. Kieru immediately checked their stats, and mocked them for being far too weak. Enraged, they attacked Kieru, but he easily defeated them. This caused the soldiers to become frightened. Kieru said he came here only to save his villagers. Suddenly, the soldiers began slaughtering the villagers. However, Kieru showed no concern at all. He said that they were the true murderers, and that he would take revenge for his people. Realizing how powerful Kieru was, the soldiers activated a barrier to surround him. Suddenly, their mana was drained away, and they collapsed unconscious. It turned out that Flare and Setsuna had taken control of the barrier. One by one, the soldiers began to die. They felt that Kieru was like a demon. The commander threatened to kill all the villagers. But Kieru said, "If you kill them, I will kill you." This terrified the soldiers. Suddenly, Kieru realized that the villagers had already been poisoned. From the very beginning, the soldiers had never intended to spare them. So, Kieru decided to slaughter them all. Suddenly, Flare appeared. This shocked everyone, because she was still alive. Flare began exposing the cruelty of the kingdom. She said that Kieru had only pretended to assassinate her, so that she could escape the castle. However, the crowd suspected that she was an imposter. Thus, Flare used sun magic. This was magic that only Flare could use. As a result, everyone believed she was the real princess. Kieru realized that his plan had succeeded. At this moment, the citizens began to rebel against the kingdom. Meanwhile, Kieru managed to save only one boy. No matter what he did, he could not save everyone in the village. Kieru realized this had all been part of Norn's plan. After that, Kieru asked Goldman to take care of the boy. He even gave him a large sum of money. Kieru told him not to tell the boy the truth, because hatred would make him stronger. After that, Kieru said goodbye to Kureha and left the city. She told Kieru that Norn was commanding an expedition in the city of Branaka. So, Kieru decided to head there, and he asked Kureha to continue gathering information for him. At this point, Kieru explained that Branaka was the only city where humans and the demon race lived together. Even though the demon race was not dangerous, they were always misunderstood as devils. However, in Setsuna's eyes, humans were the real demons. This made Kieru laugh. Flare did not understand why Kieru wanted to go to Branaka. It turned out that he wanted to meet the demon lord again. Meanwhile, Norn felt that her subordinates were completely useless. And when she learned that her sister was still alive, she became furious. So, she decided to personally capture her sister. At this time, Kieru was crafting new magic staves for Flare. Because her mana capacity was extremely large, Kieru recalled his previous life. At first, a hero's weapon was nothing more than a gemstone. After forming a contract with the hero, the gemstone would transform into a divine weapon suited to them. However, the entire kingdom only possessed 3 divine weapons. Kieru also wanted a divine weapon of his own, and he was determined to take revenge on Bullet and Blade. Eventually, they arrived in the city of Branaka. This was a place where humans and other races lived together. 20 years ago, the city had been invaded by the demon race, and the kingdom had abandoned it. As a result, the demon race developed the city instead, turning it into a place where humans and demons could coexist. After that, they entered a restaurant to gather more information. It turned out that 12 years ago, the city's lord had negotiated with the demon race. That was how the city became prosperous. Humans and demons supported each other's growth. Suddenly, a girl came and sat at Kieru's table. He immediately realized that she was the demon lord. However, Kieru noticed that, at this point in time, she had not yet become the demon lord. Even so, her mana was incredibly vast. In just 4 more years, she would definitely become the demon lord. However, the people there did not know what the demon lord looked like. Kieru pointed at the girl sitting beside him, and said that she would become the demon lord. This made everyone burst into laughter, because they did not believe that such a girl could become the demon lord. The demon lord that Kieru described had white hair and black wings. Based on that description, they realized she belonged to the Black Wing tribe. The current demon lord had ordered the extermination of that tribe. If even one member of the Black Wing tribe was found here, everyone would hunt them down. When the girl finished eating and was about to leave, they were suddenly attacked. Fortunately, they managed to block the attack in time. However, the girl was injured, so Kieru told her to hire him as her bodyguard. After that, he immediately defeated one of the attackers. Then, Kieru took the girl and escaped. Once they were safe, he told Flare and Setsuna to step outside, so he could speak with the girl in private. Kieru admitted that he had truly met the Demon Lord in the future. This made her skeptical, but Kieru introduced himself as a hero, because heroes were born to oppose the demon race. However, Kieru was different. He said that he wanted to live together with the demon race, because her tribe was being hunted, due to the current demon lord fearing the power of the Black Wing tribe. Therefore, he wanted to help Reese become the demon lord. This would be extremely beneficial to him. If Reese continued acting alone, she would definitely be at a disadvantage. But Kieru would compensate for those weaknesses. He even promised to protect Reese, and to defeat the current demon lord, so that Reese could become the next demon lord. However, Reese still did not trust Kieru, because she did not yet know his true purpose. So, Kieru said that he wanted the demon lord's heart, but specifically, the heart of the current demon lord. Reese said that she needed one night to think it over. The next morning, they had breakfast together. Reese was still feeling embarrassed, because she had seen Kieru taking care of Flare and Setsuna that morning. So, she could not tell whether Kieru was a good person or a bad one. Flare and Setsuna both acknowledged that he was a good person, but Reese felt that Kieru was not good at all. When she tasted Kieru's soup, Reese suddenly burst into tears. This shocked everyone, because she had never eaten anything this delicious before. At this moment, Kieru continued explaining the terms of their deal. He would help her defeat the current demon lord, and help her save the Black Wing tribe, because he was extremely powerful. In return, Kieru would take the demon lord's heart, which was the philosopher's stone. After that, Reese would be able to become the demon lord and end the war. Even though she did not want to trade her body for him, she saw the trust that Flare and Setsuna had in Kieru. In the end, Reese agreed, and she was confident in her own strength. After they finished eating, Kieru asked her about her familiar, because members of the Black Wing tribe always had their own familiar. Unexpectedly, her familiar was the divine bird Caladrius. However, she had not yet been able to tame it. This surprised Kieru, because Caladrius was a divine bird that could eliminate all diseases. It could even destroy an entire nation through plagues. This greatly interested Kieru. He wanted to meet Caladrius, but Reese warned him that it was extremely dangerous. If Kieru approached it, he would die. However, Kieru was confident in his healing ability. He believed he could overcome any disease. After that, he told everyone to stay inside, while he went outside to check the situation himself. Then, Kieru altered his appearance. This surprised Reese. At that moment, Kieru went outside. Suddenly, he was attacked. Fortunately, Kieru managed to dodge it. Even though he had changed his face, his scent had not changed. So, Kieru decided to take revenge on them. By nightfall, Kieru returned. He brought back a large amount of food and new clothes. This made Flare and Setsuna very happy. So, they changed into their new outfits right in front of Kieru. This made Reese feel embarrassed. She quickly went to the next room to change clothes. As Reese waited outside, Kieru felt that she would soon officially become a member of the group. After that, Kieru and Setsuna went to where the pursuers were hiding. Kieru threw a potion at a cow. This drove it mad and caused it to attack its owner. After that, they continued eliminating the others. At this point, Kieru threw them into a deep pit, because he wanted to force them to confess whether anyone else knew about Reese. Once they revealed everything, Kieru decided to spare them. However, the cow was still rampaging. Kieru heard their terrified screams. This greatly pleased him. At this time, Kieru rented a larger inn room. He rented only one room, because if they stayed separately, they could be attacked unexpectedly. This made Reese feel embarrassed, because she knew they would be noisy, making it hard for her to sleep. The next morning, Kieru bought Flare a new magic staff. He used his ability to upgrade it into a high-grade magic staff. This shocked the shop owner. The shop owner immediately made a deal with Kieru. He asked Kieru to upgrade 2 more staffs in the shop, and he agreed to split the profits with Kieru 50-50. Suddenly, the kingdom's army arrived, so Kieru went alone to observe the situation. He saw that Norn had arrived, and Blade was accompanying her. She was one of the people Kieru wanted revenge on. This filled him with rage. Suddenly, Kieru was discovered by another hero. So, he immediately fled. It turned out that hero's nickname was Hawkeye. Trist, and he was one of the kingdom's 3 heroes. Trist could easily sense other people's emotions. So, Kieru decided that he would have to eliminate him as well. Meanwhile, Blade was planning to kidnap several girls and take them back to his room. The next morning, Kieru continued negotiating with the merchant to earn more money. He gave the merchant strength-enhancing and recovery potions. This delighted Carmen. However, Kieru warned him that this city was about to become a battlefield. So, Carmen told him that the sword hero had kidnapped and brutally abused one of his female customers. Even though everyone knew about it, the citizens could do nothing about it. Kieru immediately came up with a plan to lure the sword hero out, because he knew Blade was obsessed with Flare. However, he did not want Blade to ruin his toy. The next morning, Kieru decided to transform into a girl. Flare and Setsuna thought he looked adorable. So, Flare applied makeup for Kieru to make him even more alluring. At that moment, Kieru became extremely beautiful. Flare and Setsuna could barely contain themselves. That evening, Kieru used himself as bait. Suddenly, a group of thugs approached him. Kieru warned them that he was far stronger than they were, but they thought he was joking. Very quickly, Kieru defeated them all. At this point, Kieru entered a tavern to wait. When Blade arrived, he kept calm and began carrying out his plan. As expected, Blade was attracted by Kieru's beauty. So, Blade secretly slipped a sleeping drug into Kieru's drink. Kieru noticed everything, but he still drank it anyway. After that, Blade happily carried Kieru away. Suddenly, she encountered a man who tried to assassinate her. It turned out he wanted revenge for his daughter. In the chaos, Blade accidentally threw Kieru forward. This made it impossible for him to keep pretending to be asleep. Kieru realized that fighting here would attract attention. But Blade was already furious. She even activated her divine weapon. So, Kieru secretly fired a poisoned projectile at Blade. However, she was still extremely powerful. Kieru's poison had no effect on her at all, and he was captured. It turned out that the divine weapon had granted her overwhelming strength. Blade decided to torture Kieru thoroughly, because he was far too beautiful. So, Kieru allowed himself to be captured. When Kieru woke up, he found himself tied to a bed. Blade decided to take care of Kieru very carefully. Suddenly, she realized that Kieru was actually a man. This left Blade completely shocked. Seizing this moment, Kieru attacked her. Blade was hit by poison, because she was not using her divine weapon at the time. Blade felt utterly disgusted, because she deeply hated men. She could not accept the fact that she had touched a man. Kieru felt that he had tortured her enough. So, he officially began his revenge. At this time, Kieru read Blade's memories. He realized that Norn planned to massacre this city in 3 days. After that, Kieru prepared some light snacks and a stage. As long as Blade did not have her divine weapon, she was nothing more than an ordinary person. It turned out that Kieru wanted Blade to be tormented by the thing she hated the most, while Kieru simply sat and watched. He even transformed into Flare's appearance, making Blade fall into even deeper despair. After Blade died, the divine weapon reverted to its original form. At this point, there was only one person left that Kieru needed to take revenge on. That person was the gun hero, Bullet. The next morning, Kieru went to the market to do business. Suddenly, he ran into Trist. It turned out Trist wanted to recruit Kieru into the army, because Trist believed Kieru was extremely talented. However, Kieru refused, because he valued his freedom. Trist was extremely cautious, so Kieru could not find any openings in him at all. Setsuna also felt that Trist was very strong. She was not confident that Kieru could defeat him. If Kieru wanted to get close to Norn, he would have to defeat Trist first. After returning, Kieru decided to create a divine weapon that suited him perfectly. It would both enhance his healing abilities and give him the power to destroy everything. As a result, the gemstone transformed into a set of divine armor. This allowed Kieru to become a true hero. This made Kieru extremely happy. So, he immediately informed everyone. At this time, Norn received news that Blade had gone missing. But she continued with her plan anyway. She announced to the citizens that she would free them from the control of the demon race. However, everyone opposed her, because they were already living very well. Kieru realized that this was exactly what she wanted. Suddenly, someone attempted to assassinate Norn. This became her excuse to begin the slaughter, because she claimed that the people had been brainwashed. Kieru watched everything from above. He saw the soldiers attacking the civilians. Suddenly, he noticed that Carmen had also been injured. Kieru considered him his first true friend. So, he decided to take revenge. After that, Kieru activated his divine weapon. He charged straight into the soldiers and advanced directly toward Norn. Suddenly, Flare appeared. This shocked everyone. She said that she had been living in this city for some time, and that she had seen no one being brainwashed. Humans and demon race were living together peacefully. So, she ordered the soldiers to stop the attack. Meanwhile, Kieru was enjoying himself while searching for Norn. At this moment, Norn was furious because Flare had interfered with her plan. She also realized that her sister was being manipulated by Kieru. Kieru felt that Norn was extremely intelligent, so he decided to make use of her. Suddenly, Kieru launched an attack, but Trist immediately blocked him. Norn did not feel worried at all, because she believed that the healing hero could never defeat Trist. Unexpectedly, Kieru moved at incredible speed. He launched a relentless assault on Trist. However, Kieru was injured. Trist had even coated his sword with poison. Even so, Kieru could resist the poison and heal his wounds. As long as Kieru wore this armor, he would not die. At that moment, Kieru could clearly see Trist's attacks. With just a single strike, he defeated Trist. This caused Norn to finally feel fear. Kieru immediately knocked her unconscious. After reading her memories, he realized that Norn was the one behind his sister's death. Kieru decided to take revenge on Norn, because in that place, there would be no one left to save her. What she would suffer would not even equal a fraction of what the people outside had endured. So Kieru decided to alter her memories, just like he had done to Flare. Norn would become Kieru's long-lost younger sister. The next morning, Kureha came to see him, because she was worried about Kieru. So, Kieru rewarded her with a kiss. At this point, Kieru knew the king would send the gun hero after him. He decided to take revenge on Bullet, and make him suffer through unimaginable pain. But before that, he would first tame Caladrius. Afterward, he would defeat the Demon Lord, and obtain the Philosopher's Stone. At this moment, standing beside Kieru were a magic hero, a warrior, a sword saint, a strategist, and a candidate for Demon Lord. They would become the strongest allies in his path of revenge. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support Onichan in future videos. Thank you so much for watching. Much love.